So this is my 22 stock that I made out of black walnut. As I said in a previous video, it's a Stevens Model 86C. Um, I used a Birchwood Casey tru-oil gun stock finish kit. The kit comes with a walnut stain, tru-oil, and then a stock and sheen conditioner. I didn't use the stain. I just used the tru-oil and the conditioner. I bought the kit intending to use the stain, but then when I used got a little moisture on the wood and saw what it was gonna look like without the stain, I figured, well, I'll just skip that step because I think the grain looks pretty nice on this. So basically with the tru-oil, I found it kind of difficult to keep it from running, especially on the first few coats. The first one is more to just let it soak into the wood. The following coats is to protect the wood. The tru-oil is a oil, but then it also has some varnish, I believe, in there, so that progressively builds up a protective layer on the wood. So I put 5 coats of tru-oil on there. Between each coat, I sanded with 400 grit sandpaper and then triple aught steel wool. And then you tack cloth and then put another coat, then put another coat of oil and then let it sit for 24 hours, let it dry. The final coat, I ended up using a cloth, and I would recommend using a cloth for every coat because that was the easiest and the best looking coat that I put on. So after that final coat, though, you have to let it dry for, they say, 7 days to let the finish cure. So then this morning I used the stock and sheen conditioner, and basically what that does is it kind of mutes the shine a little bit. The tru-oil is, I would say, excessively shiny, especially for a hunting tool. So that I used one, I went over that. That's kind of like the stock and sheen is basically a polish for all intents and purposes. And so I used one. I went over the stock with one coat of that, and then I used gun wax. That doesn't come in the kit, but it's readily available. The wax, I'm glad I bought that. I used 3 coats of that. It's pretty easy to apply. You just rub it on until it dries, and it really smooths out any surface imperfections that you might have. Hopefully you don't have any at that point, but as far as some of the details, this is pretty heavy for a 22. It's not something that you're gonna, I mean, it's probably as heavy as some of my deer rifles. But so I decided to go ahead and put sling mounts on here. I mean, those are pretty easy. You just drill a hole and put them on. The trigger guard. The trigger guard was painted black. I believe it was probably like a Rust-Oleum or something. So basically I stripped it. I don't know if you can see that, but I stripped the paint off. And at first I thought, well, I'll just repaint it because basically I stripped it because there was some scratches in the paint. So I stripped the paint off and tried painting it once. I put 3 coats on there, but then I don't think I let it cure well enough before I started messing around with it, and it ended up scratching really easily again. So I went out and I went to a store nearby and bought some. It's Birchwood Casey gun bluing paste, and basically the trigger guard was raw metal at that point. and they say that you're supposed to be able to get the color to darken with a certain number of coats, and they say like 5. But what I found was it wasn't darkening at all. So what I did was I put some of that bluing paste on there after probably I had like 5 coats at that point, but there wasn't any change in the color. So I put that on there, and then I had my oven preheated to 170 degrees, and put the trigger guard with the bluing paste on it in the oven for, I think it was like 10 minutes, and then took it out and let it cool, and I noticed that it actually did get darker. So I did that twice, and it darkened really nice doing that. So other than that, I'm really happy with how it turned out. One thing, this screw here, the action screw, used to sit proud of the surface here. Basically, it's a thumb screw, so it was sitting up, and now it sits lower than flush, which I like because then you can run your hand up the fore end if you need to or whatever, and you don't have to. I don't know, it's just not the way. I think it just looks cleaner when you're looking at it. But other than that, I'm happy with how it turned out, and we'll see. Maybe I'll do another one someday. But that's it for now.